Hello, and welcome to Herbal Expeditions. Join us as we dive deep into the world of herbs and aromatherapy. Our host, certified aromatherapist Shunda Bertrand, is passionate about sharing her knowledge and expertise with herbal enthusiasts like you. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just starting out, we'll guide you through the process of planting, growing, and preparing your own herbs. And when it comes to aromatherapy, Shunda will help you discover the incredible benefits of using essential oils for your mind, body, and soul. So, tune in and let's embark on this herbal adventure together.
Good evening, and thanks so much for tuning in tonight. Before we get started, I'd like to give a huge thank you to our sponsors, Word on the Street, for allowing me to be able to come to you and share this information. So before I get started, I'm going to give my usual disclaimer. I am not a licensed healthcare professional. Information that you receive here are for educational purposes only based on my personal experience and training. On this channel, we do not treat, cure, or diagnose. You are strongly encouraged to do your own research on the topics discussed here. As always, you are advised to discuss any new herbal regimen with your doctor, especially if you are pregnant, nursing, or taking any prescription medication. You all know I like to get started out with a great quote. So my quote for today is, "Scents have a way of stirring emotions that words often fail to express." The author of that quote is unknown, but think about that. Scents having a way of stirring your emotions that words often fail to express. As you know, scents are very, very powerful, and I like to dive into the use of scents and fragrances in stirring our emotions, not only our emotions, but also our health. Tonight's topic will be mental detoxification. So I'll start off by talking about what detoxification is. Detoxification is defined as the process of removing toxic substances or qualities. Medical treatment that involves abstaining from specified food or drink until the bloodstream is free of toxins. For our purposes tonight, we will define toxins as poisonous substances which cause disease or imbalance in the body. Not only substances, but it also is behaviors. Think about it for a moment. What are some things that you find toxic or that you feel pollute your mind? Tonight, we're taking tonight we are going to shake things up a little bit. I will be interviewing a guest, a mental health professional. Today we will discuss mental detoxification. Some of the topics we will discuss are what the process is for mental detox, how to tell when you require mental detox, and what pollutes or toxifies our mind. What are some signs that viewers can look for that may indicate you need a mental detox? Tonight, we have a special guest and expert who will help us explore this topic. She's going to be joining us in just a moment. Her name is Valerie Butler McDaniel. She is a licensed clinical social worker who has worked in a variety of positions, ranging from probation and parole, the Department of Social and Health Services. She's a clinical supervisor as well as a school social worker. She is a wife, mother, sister, and a daughter. So she has a variety of experiences that she'll be able to share with us. So we're going to have Valerie to come on in as I'm talking to you. And one of the things that I want you to just kind of ponder, the body can be a very complex thing. Unlike the cars we drive, our bodies don't afford us the luxury of a check engine light to let us know when something is going wrong, or does it? Personally, I know that my stress levels are getting out of hand when I have difficulty remembering things, especially numbers, difficulty sleeping, or either I'm just not eating. So we're going to have Valerie to come on in and join us tonight so that we can start talking about this subject matter. Good evening, Valerie.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing just great. How are you today?
Oh, doing good, doing good. It's Thursday.
I know we're almost at the end of the week, right?
Yes, yes.
And as we get towards the end of the week, a lot of times it seems that our stress level builds and it gets a little bit hectic. So, what are some signs that a person may need a mental detox?
Well, the signs are it's obviously different for every person, but if you find yourself short with people, where on Monday or on the weekend you're more courteous in your conversation and your tone, but you find that your tone is very short, very blunt, not so much care and concern about the receiver of your message, that's an indication that it may be time to detox. If you're not eating well or sleeping well, or even resting well, you may not sleep, but you're able to lay down and rest. If you find you can't even do that, it's time to detox. If you're losing interest in things that are really important to you, or you're just finding your day is full to where you can't get to those fun things that you like, it might be time for a little bit of a detox.
Thank you so much. I would like to speak to the importance of knowing your body because I know for me, for example, I get terrible muscle spasms, especially in my stomach. My eye jumps and twitches quite a bit. When I'm starting to get to a point where it's difficult for me to sleep, I know that I'm under a lot of stress. Before this happens, I'm usually short tempered and irritable with people. Can you talk to us a little bit about knowing how your body responds to stress?
Absolutely. As you describe a lot of things that you experience, I hear people talk about having headaches. I'm kind of with you. My eye twitches, or I find that my vision is not as sharp as it normally is, or I might get headaches. And so, listening to those parts of your body is very important. Stress manifests itself physically in a multitude of ways, and not all stress is bad. We do, some of us work good under pressure. We waste the last minute and the product we produce is way better. But constantly, repeatedly putting your body through those changes where your chemicals and hormones are overworking themselves is not a good state. And it will affect things like blood pressure, appetite, digestion, things of that nature. So it's very important to be mindful of how continuous stress impacts your body.
I think that is a very good point, continuous stress, because sometimes we get so much in the run of the mill that we don't realize that it's continuous stress because it gets to be common. And because it's common, we think it's normal. So we just keep going and going and going. But unlike the Energizer Bunny, we don't have batteries in us that just go at some point, they're going to deplete, or we're going to deplete if we don't stop and kind of pull back some.
And
I Go ahead.
and a dangerous level of stress is
Mhm.
stress that comes from doing something you absolutely love to do.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that we have to think about. You absolutely love to do something. And so you're so wrapped up in enjoying it, but that you don't realize the stress that it's putting on your body because it's something that you enjoy. So even the things that we enjoy doing, sometimes we have to back away and recharge and regroup with those things.
Okay. Uh, could you list for our audience some factors that contribute to our mind becoming toxic or polluted? I know for me, it is one of the things is feeling underappreciated, not people not realizing my value and my worth, even though I know what it is, or not having enough time in the day to complete tasks that I've been assigned to do. Uh, and like I talked about,
Absolutely.
and to the point where it feels normal. So then you think, oh, this is just the way it is.
I think one of the biggest things is trying to change things that are beyond our control to change. We want to fix things that are not within our scope to do. And so I think that is one of the biggest things that cause us stray. We have to accept the things for what they are and know your limitations of what you can and cannot do and can and cannot change. So I think that's one of the big things. And like you said, being underappreciated, undervalued in the workplace, or being underappreciated, undervalued in the home. That's another thing that, we always didn't associate stress with outside of the comforts of our home. But if you deal with a stressful job, or you're in a stressful position, and then you come home to what should be your sanctuary, and it's not running the way it should or you would like, that's another source of stress. So your body never gets a chance to kind of take a break. You're going from one stressful situation to the next. And so that's something that we have to think about, is the home structure. What can we do to have that sanctuary when we walk in the door? Even though, as you know, we all play all those different roles. As you list mine, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a caretaker. That's what happens within the four walls of my sanctuary. And so how do we balance, create that balance, which is what is, another thing that's really important.
I would say that balance is a key word, because that is what happens when we're on the edge of a break. We've lost balance. And so
Mhm.
I really like to, kind of focus there for a minute. What does balance look like? Working in the school system, I have experienced some babies whose life is just so out of balance, and they've never had the opportunity to know what balance is. And I think about the long term, we talk about muscle memory and that kind of thing, but then
Mhm.
that trauma that happens in the body from not being able to, not knowing what balance is, and
Mhm.
the chemical processes that your brain goes through, and the things that happens uh, when you don't have that. Can you speak a little bit about trauma and how that impacts your mental well-being?
Absolutely. Trauma, there's studies and research shows that trauma rewires the firing synapses within the brain. And children that are exposed to consistent trauma in youth become adults that look for and seek out those chaotic situations because that is their norm. And so when you see an adult in chaos, you can almost always trace it back to what I say is consistent trauma. Now, we all at some point in time may have experienced something that's traumatic, and trauma is one of those experiences that's unique to each individual. So how I may process a dog running away as a child may be very different than you. We just go get another dog and keep moving. The next person, it may take them years to recover. So once again, it's not just necessarily one experience, it's the consistently being in traumatic experiences where your brain never kind of recenters itself before it has to deal with the next event. And so we do know that there are some neurological changes that happens to the brain. Another piece to that trauma is that we're always on alert. And so, you hear a lot talk about cortisol. The body releases cortisol when you're dealing with trauma. You have a fight or flight situation, but when you're always fighting, then your body never tells you, okay, it's time to flight, or it's time to freeze, or it's time to do something else. So the slightest change or shift sends them right back into that fight or flight. And for some, it's fight, and some it's flight type of situation. These then become learned behaviors and habits that carry on into adolescent years. Then you're dealing with the normal hormonal changes of adolescent on top of the altering that has happened because of the traumatic experience. Then those bad habits take it into adulthood. And then that's when you find those adults that fly off the handle at Walmart because you took their parking spot and you didn't mean to.
You are absolutely correct when it comes to that. I know that I understand confidentiality with counseling and all of that, but could you give me an example, if you can think of one, over the many years that you've worked, of a person that truly needed a mental detoxification? Just kind of describe what that looked like, almost like you would for a case study. Of course, no names or anything like that, but could you think of an example of someone that you could see as a professional that they really needed to detox?
I think the case that I think of most and I use quite frequently is a elementary age student whose family structure and family linguistic preferences were not appropriate for a school setting. Um, and this child would come into school and in plain language would cuss everybody out. And when you hear of a child that young, they're assuming, that's trauma. That's what's going on in the environment, that this child is coming in cursing everybody out. As I rested in the space and observed this child for some periods of time, the baby would cuss when they were upset. They would also cuss when they was at baseline. And so we don't think of just the impact of language. We don't think about that as being traumatic, but the impact of the language that you hear, and the trauma came from how everybody else perceived. Difficulty forming relationships, always being put out of different classroom settings, being shunned by adults because the norm of the family was not what was acceptable for this student. And so the detox came in form of teaching. So we had to teach this child how to communicate in a school building versus communicating in their home and their community. And therefore we started fixing some of the other behaviors that went along with the trauma of being always excluded and shunned from in activities and fun things in the school building. So the trauma didn't come from the use of language. The trauma came from the result of not understanding or not having the proper vocabulary to use in a school setting. And nobody thought, but by the time I started interacting with this child, they had already experienced 4 years of school-based trauma of being excluded because didn't have any other way to communicate other than using profanity.
I really enjoy that story because you talked about exclusion and what that can do to individuals. And I had not thought about that. And that's a good segue into my next section. Detoxifying mentally can be viewed as a surrender or a let go mindset. What are some habits one may want to consider letting go to help with a mental detoxification?
Letting go things that cloud your attention and doesn't bring you joy. One of the big things we tell you here is a big talk now is social media. Yes, social media is used for a plethora of things, and yes, it does have some very positive attributes being a part of social media, but every once in a while we may just need to put the phone down and actually get a cooking recipe from a cookbook, or take a trip to the library and pick up a newspaper versus using social media. So that's one thing that could be a detox. A detox could also be just spending time outside, taking a walk. Another really good detox that I use is a gratitude moment. So either I just sit down on a piece of paper, a Post-it note, and then just write about all the things that I'm grateful for. And not the big things, it's the little things that I write that, oh, wow, that I really did have a good day, because these are all the great things I'm grateful for, or all the things that are positive. So take some time to just kind of reflect on what is good going around with you or even with family. Part of my gratitude and things that I'm grateful is I'm grateful for you and our friendship. I'm grateful for your show and the success, because that is someone that I can see flourishing and doing something that they love to do. So I can be grateful and rest in that moment. So the gratefulness doesn't have to come from me. It could come from those that are around. So when you think about detoxing your mind, also you want to detox your body. What are the foods are you eating? Are you having, for example, arthritic pain, but you're feeding your body with sugar with the wrong diet? So a detox could say, we can't cut out everything, but okay, so I'm gonna stop drinking sodas with my dinner. We just gonna stop there. Start there for a detox. So what are you physically doing that you can change on a very small scale? So I don't want to keep rattling on, that's kind of the area that I can get excited about. So I'm going to stop there.
I understand. And I will say to the listening audience, some of the things that I surrender, I let go of when I'm doing a mental detoxification is negative people. If I feel that my stress levels are getting really high, people in my life who are very negative, who are not supportive of my dreams or my aspirations, or my desire to heal mentally, if they can't recognize when I say this has become too much for me, then I realized that that might be someone that I might need to let go, because right now we're not jiving. One of my stories that I can tell is I had a very close friend, and we had been friends for a long time, and she was going through some serious marital problems. And I realized her sharing her story with me constantly was getting me worked up to a point where I was extremely upset with her husband, but it was coming out in other ways when I was around my family. And I said to her, I'm going to need to push back a little bit, because I'm taking this on, it's becoming very personal. And
Mm-hmm.
that we were very close, because when I said that to her, she's like, I understand, you're like a sister to me. So I do understand that. So we had that type of relationship. I think that it's very good when we have people in our lives who can appreciate where we are and what we're going through, and we can have that conversation so we can be totally transparent. The freedom to live transparently is a huge thing with
Yes.
maintaining your mental health.
Yes. And also thinking about what are the things that you're doing out of obligation but doesn't bring you any joy. So you commit to doing something and you get into it and it's like, I probably shouldn't have committed to that. And but now you're trying to figure out, how do I get out of this? Now, I always tell people, honor your commitments to a point, honor them, but set an expiration date. And when things expire, we get rid of them. Think about milk in your refrigerator. When it expires, you don't keep using it unless you're trying to make some buttermilk or something out of it, but you throw it away. When meat goes bad, you throw it away. You don't keep ingesting things that are not good. So when we get into stuff, we might have got into with good intentions, wanting to be supportive, but it's no longer bringing you joy and it's causing you stress. Set an expiration date and honor yourself by keeping that expiration date. I can help you until the end of the month, but then at the end of the month, you have to figure out another arrangement. That's another way of detoxing, because we all get into it. We take on more than we should, but we got to learn how to let go.
You're absolutely right, because that was the next thing on my list that I was going to say. Unnecessary tasks and responsibilities was something. And then
Mm.
the unhealthy food, you kind of spoke on that. And then on my list, I had electronics. That's one of the things that I limit my screen time. The next thing was hydration, drinking enough water. Uh,
Yes.
what percentage of our brain is water? I think 75 is some high number. I don't remember what the number is, but a big part of our brain is water. So how can we function optimally mentally if we're not getting enough water and
Right.
enough sleep? Because then you start talking about the cortisol levels and all of those things and the stress that puts on your body.
Yeah.
Um,
And that
so those
reminds
are
me.
some ways that you can nourish your spirit. I'm going to take a little bit of a turn, and I'm just going to list some essential oils, since I am the aromatherapy lady.
That's it.
I am going to list a few essential oils that one might want to explore. Roman chamomile is one that is very, very relaxing. Ylang ylang, that is also a floral oil that is relaxing and is purported for being one that helps with lowering blood pressure at times. Lavender, another floral. Whole wood. Whole wood is one that's not mentioned very often, but whole wood is very high in linalool, even has a higher linalool content than lavender, which is the active ingredient in lavender that causes your stress, that lowers your stress. Well, I should say that helps you relax. Those are four oils that I can just think of off the top of my head that are extremely relaxing for individuals. And then when I start to talk about herbs, today was a bit of a hectic day because I had planned to do a recipe here on the show to share with you guys. But in lieu of doing it live on the show as I usually do, I'm going to share the recipe. Before I get into the recipe, let me name a list of herbs that are considered to be nervine herbs. And nervine herbs are known for their calming effects on the nervous system, helping to reduce your stress, your anxiety, promote relaxation. And I will say this before I list these, you need to check them for contraindications. If you're listening to the show and you're going to want to explore these, you need to do your research. But chamomile is one, it's popular in tea. Lemon balm is another. Lavender, number 3. Number 4 is passion flower.
Hmm.
The next one is valerian root. Valerian for me is a very strong, but with valerian, you have to be careful because some people have an adverse reaction and it does just the opposite. But for me, it is a very strong nervine and relaxant. Skullcap is an herb known for its ability to ease nervous tension, stress, and anxiety. And then hops. And hops is a cousin to THC. It does not have THC in it, but they're in the same family. It's the uh, commonly used in beers, but it's also used in herbal medicine to help with relaxation and improve your sleep. Oat straw, of course, if you are a person who is I'm trying to think of when you can't have gluten. If you're one of those people that don't need gluten, you wouldn't want to do oat straw. But oat straw is rich in nutrients. It supports your nervous system and can help with anxiety and stress. Holy basil, ashwagandha is another adaptogen that reduces stress, anxiety, and promotes overall well-being and relaxation. So in my tea recipe tonight, it has a 1 part raspberry leaf, 1 part nettle. Nettle is extremely nutritious. It provides a wealth of vitamins and minerals, particularly iron, making it a great tonic for overall health. Mint it has a very refreshing flavor. First of all, let's start there. It helps to aid with digestion because sometimes when you have nervous tension or you're imbalanced, your digestion is sluggish. So you might throw like 1 part mint in there. A half a part of skullcap. Skullcap is considered to be a powerful nervine. It enhances the common effects of this tea. It helps to reduce stress and anxiety in the nervous system. Rose petals, a half a part rose petals. It's a delicate floral note to this tea. It helps uplift the mood while providing relaxation. And then chamomile, and as you know, that is a classic relaxant herb. Is chamomile. It's good for soothing, and it has sedative properties and that kind of thing. And I want to add that anytime, not anytime, but there are several of the aromatic herbs that helps to potentiate the effects of the other herbs in your blend if you're making a tea. Now, with this recipe that I've given tonight, this is considered a cold infusion. So after you mix that together, you take a couple of tablespoons and put it inside a mason jar, put it in the refrigerator overnight, or at least a minimum of 2 hours, let it infuse cold, and then you can drink that. And that is a recipe that will help you to relax. I have certainly enjoyed having you on the show tonight, Valerie. Do you have any closing thoughts that you would like to share with our viewers when it comes to mental detoxification?
Just as I bring my part to a close, I just want people to always remember the one thing that you can control is yourself. And so when you want to detox, think about you first and the things that you can do and you can control. A detox does not have to cost you money. So think about ways and things that you can pour into your life. And the more you pour into your life, you will have less space for those things that are toxic.
Thank you very much for those closing words, and they were very, very good. I wanted to get your thought. I had forgotten about this. Did you hear my quote at the beginning of the show? I'm going to read to you again, and I just would like you to let me know what you think about this. Scents have a way of stirring emotions that words often fail to express.
Oh, that's almost a show in itself. Ah, that is actually right. I mean, that what things that you smell can bring back memories. It can create new memories. Um, a scent has a way of kind of telling people how you feel about them. Thinking about, when you get dressed up to go out on your date with your loved one, you put on those scents and you start smelling good. That's kind of a way of telling the person, I appreciate this moment in time, and I'm dressed, not only dressing up, but making sure that my body odor always sounds harmful, but the way I smell reflects how I feel about this moment in time, as well. But oh yeah, that's a powerful one.
When I get dressed up and I put on my smell goods, I want him to remember it. So therefore, when I put those smell goods on, I want him, when he gets a whiff of that, whatever it is that is the base of that fragrance, whenever he smells it, say if it were a rose fragrance, when he smells that rose, I wanted to bring back that night or that special time.
That's
I have
it.
so enjoyed this conversation with you tonight. I really would like to know if the listening audience would like to hear more about this at another time, or for us to take a different spin on this mental detoxification. That would be fantastic. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them down in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. It has been, I think it's been a great show. I have enjoyed this immensely. Have a good evening.
Thank you for tuning in to Herbal Expeditions. Remember to set your clock for 7 p.m. Central Standard Time every Thursday.